Banyak media massa dan universitas ternama dunia seringkali membandingkan flu Spanyol atau yang lebih dikenal dengan Spanish flu pada tahun 1918 yang bermula di Kansas, Amerika Serikat dengan pandemi COVID-19 di tahun 2020. Mereka juga memberikan rekomendasi buku-buku yang menjelaskan mengenai kejadian saat itu, tapi media massa atau universitas ternama tidak dengan jelas membahas mengenai eksperimen yang dilakukan oleh layanan kesehatan Amerika Serikat mengenai penjelasan penularannya, seperti yang dijelaskan di dalam buku yang berjudul The Invincible Rainbow, karya Arthur Fistenberg. Dr. Andrew Kaufman dari Universitas MIT Amerika Serikat dan juga Dr. Thomas Cowan menjelaskan hal ini. Berikut penjelasannya.
Are there things in life that cause contagion? Like, let's say, people call it the Spanish flu of 1918. Was that actually a contagious event?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because there is a book called The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Fistenberg, and it describes that right after the Spanish flu pandemic, which, by the way, resulted in 50 million deaths.
Right.
Okay, so that is way, 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 way more than our current situation. But the U.S. Public Health Service, they did a series of 3 experiments with people. They did some additional animal experiments as well. But the experiments with the humans, they had 100 healthy subjects, and then they had several people who were sick with the flu. So what they did is they had the people who were sick with the flu cough up as much nasty stuff as they could. They put swabs in their nose to collect the snot. They even swabbed their eyeballs. So they were trying to collect all of the particles that they thought were infectious that they could then deliver to a healthy person and make them sick. So in the first experiment, what they did is they squirted these secretions into the nose, eyes, and throat of the healthy people. And out of those 100 healthy people, not one of them became ill with the flu. So they thought, well, we need to try harder, and they devised a second experiment. In the second experiment, they took the same secretions from the sick person who was coughing and sneezing and tearing, and they then injected that into the healthy subjects. And once again, none of the subjects became ill with the flu. So they devised a third experiment thinking that perhaps a more natural, casual human contact is required for transmission of the disease. And so what they did is they had the person who was sick with the flu sit really close, like uncomfortably close to the healthy subject. And they had a conversation for like 5 or 10 minutes. I forget the exact time. And then after that, they had the sick individual take a deep breath in and the healthy individual take a deep breath out. And they put their lips together almost as if they were kissing, but no contact. And the sick person blew all of his breath into the healthy person who inhaled it all. And the results of that experiment once again showed that none of the healthy subjects became ill. So I've tried very hard to find additional experiments where they tested this theory about contagion of infectious agents, and I could not find any conclusive studies that proved contagion exists.
Why viral? Because the people are poisoned, they excrete toxins, they look like viruses. People think it's a flu epidemic. In the 1918 epidemic, the Boston Health Department decided to investigate the contagiousness of this. So they, believe it or not, took hundreds of people with the flu and they sucked the snot out of their nose and injected it into the healthy people who didn't have the flu, and not one time could they make the next person sick. They did this over and over again, and they were not able to demonstrate contagion. They even did it with horses who apparently got the Spanish flu, and they put bags over their head, and the horses sneezed in the bag, and they put the bag over the next horse, and not one horse got sick. You can read about this in a book called The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Fistenberg, who chronicles all the steps in the electrification of the earth and how within 6 months there was a new flu pandemic all over the world. And when you hear the normal explanations, how did it go from Kansas to South Africa in 2 weeks? So the entire world got the symptoms at the same time, in spite of the fact that the mode of transportation was horseback and boats, and there's no explanation for it. They just say, we don't know how that happened.
Germ theory has been so widely accepted as a fundamental principle that all of our other scientific knowledge is based upon. There has been no effort or funding or research done to look for an alternative cause.